and things that they could then pocket the money that they had received for. So they liked doing operations with us, but they didn't really need us. So that's really the one challenge that we didn't have. Tikrit, as I said, was the capital city of Saladin and was really kind of the biggest town in our area. This place here is Mahmoud Palace, which means the birthday palace. And you don't know it, but you've seen this before. You may have seen this picture of Saddam Hussein on Army Day shooting a rifle in the air. That's taken from like right there. This is a big like reviewing field, and on Army Day, the Iraqi army would file past him, and he'd shoot his gun in the air and feel important. And they've closed it in, and it became an American base really throughout the war. In 2004-2005. The 1st Infantry Division headquarters was in Iraq, in Tikrit, and they were on the other side of town in a big area called Fob Danger, named after the division. That was, by the time we got there, handed over to Iraqi security forces. It was kind of like a safe area for the judges and the police, where their families lived, where their headquarters were, and so that they didn't have to worry about terrorist attacks in their homes. But this was really the biggest army foothold left in the town, and so this will be a recurring theme as I talk. This idea that we were out of the cities played very strongly on television right before we went, and I expected when we showed up, it would be like an hour-long commute to town, but we were in town. We didn't really leave town because the Sunnis didn't really want us to leave, because they liked doing operations with us. And they liked having us around because it kept the Shia-led government from coming in and picking up guys, political enemies in town. This is Colonel Bubba Kane. He was the battalion commander for Task Force Patriot during our year there. I was the battalion S3, the operations officer. This guy right here is Lieutenant Colonel Ahmed Al-Fahal. Colonel Ahmed was the commander of the Riot Dispersal Unit. That was their official title, but about the only thing that they didn't do was disperse riots. They were a special police battalion, every bit as capable as a U.S. Army battalion. They did independent operations. They did operations with us. We had to move around with police escorts because of the security agreement, so they would provide all our security. This guy was also kind of a kingpin in his own right, because he had access to the U.S. Army. Contractors who wanted to do reconstruction projects would be really friendly with him, and he would introduce us to them, which was very nice of him. And then, of course, he probably got some share of the money. So he was fabulously wealthy in his own right from this business he was running, and yeah. He was also was an Al-Jabari, and the Al-Jabaris were kind of the power group of Tikrit, the in group, if you will, in Tikrit that had run the province ever since the beginning of the war, and he was really their muscle, because he had the biggest, most capable military force. He was really the top cop in Saladin province. And because Saladin province is really kind of the center of Sunni Arab Iraq, he was really kind of the top cop in Sunni Arab Iraq. Very important guy, but he was also a very intimidating guy. He's physically big. There were all kinds of stories about him from before the war, and he kind of had a myth about him, so you never knew what was true and what was not true. You'd hear stories that he used to be a major in Iraqi intelligence, and you could just see him with like a power drill torturing confessions out of people who didn't like Saddam. There's a story about him in 2004 or 2005 catching a terrorist on the side of the road, planting an IED, and welding him into his car and setting it on fire and putting a sign on it. I mean, and people were terrified of him. But he was so kind of gregarious and personable that it was kind of a fear-love thing around the province. And we were obviously very concerned about this, because we're trying to build this new Iraq with this new this new democratic Iraq, and here we've got the town run by a strongman. But he kept the trains running on time, and it's really the enduring challenge of Iraq, is Iraqis respond to strong, powerful figures, and they respond to fear because that's how they've been controlled for 30 years. And it really, he was very capable, and we were supposed to partner, and so we're partnered. But, it's kind of the deal with the devil that you have to make in Iraq. This is the town where Colonel Ahmed lived, Al-Alam, which was right across the river from Tikrit. And as you look at this picture, you're immediately struck by the fact that soldiers don't all look like RoboCop. They're not in their Kevlars and their body armor. This town was really like the Beverly Hills of Sunni Arab Iraq. All of the power figures in Saladin lived in this town. Nothing ever went bang in this town because they had an agreement with coalition forces that was very profitable for them. Not to delve too far into the history, but in 2004-2005, the sheikh of the Al-Jaburis in this area, not the big Al-Jaburi sheikh who lived someplace else, but in this area, Sheikh Naji made a conscious decision really before the awakening and before Sons of Iraq that, the Americans are going to win this thing, and the guy who gets on the ground floor with them is the one who's going to end up in charge. And because he was the only Sunni Arab who would work with coalition forces, he got in on the levers of power and really made his tribe the most powerful tribe in Saladin. His brother, who we'll talk about in a second, General Abdullah Jabbar, became the deputy governor. His other brother became the chief of the National Security Agency, which is kind of like their KGB.